To better understand how to teach and assess beginning writing, we will begin by reviewing the stages that children go through as they grow as writers. Children begin to write very early. They pay close attention to the adults in their environment and actively try to figure out just what that writing means. Reading and writing are twin skills that develop simultaneously as children emerge into literacy. A number of factors in the child's home environment influence that journey. If the child has had many opportunities to see lots of print and have access to books, they begin to develop an understanding of how books work. They develop book handling skills like how to turn a book around so it's the right side up, how to hold a book, how to turn the pages, how to look at the pictures, and the idea that spoken words are connected to those squiggles, the print, on the page. Then they begin to connect the squiggles with meaning, to repeat the story, and to tell their own story from the pictures in the book. When they see adults and older children using literacy in everyday environment, like checking email, reading a magazine, following a recipe, writing a grocery list, crossing things off a to-do list, signing checks, well, all of these everyday occurrences are literacy-related events. Using technology, selecting letters on a keyboard and clicking through links to more print, is a highly literate event. It is also very reinforcing. Touch a key and it appears on the screen. Communicating through email, shopping online, researching via Google are all very meaningful, very purposeful literacy events. When children observe literacy events and have adults who point to letters, talk about what they're doing, and answer questions, they provide children with a wide range of print and literacy experience. Encouraging participation in purposeful and meaningful writing helps children understand the power and usage of print. Just like learning to walk and learning to talk, learning to print letters and write words takes a lot of successive approximation. It begins with linguistic input. Children need to make the connection between the squiggles on the page and the words they are hearing. They need to be reinforced when their squiggles are respected as carrying meaning. Repeated exposure to the meaning and purpose of print provides exposure to the patterns and the rules of communicating through print. Scribbles and loops and symbols gradually come to represent the sounds and the communication intent of the writer. Children begin to test how their scribbles influence others and become aware of the power of print. As their fine motor skills develop, they become more adept at creating those markings on paper. Oftentimes it is easy to say that children are random when they're scribbling, but take a close look at these children's writing. All these children are 4 years of age, and they're from 3 different countries. The one on the left is a child from the United States. A child from Saudi Arabia produced the middle piece of writing, and a child from Egypt produced the writing on the far right-hand side. These writing samples show that these children are very carefully observing the print in their environment and trying to assimilate and accommodate what they have come to understand about writing in their own cultures. In the United States, we use cursive a lot. It is very curvy and it has lots of loops. Notice that this child's imitation is very common, and it does look very much like our writing. Excuse me. You could look at that and say, yeah, this child is learning cursive writing. When you look at the writing samples from Saudi Arabia and Egypt, you notice that they do have connections to adult print, but the features are very different, representing how adults use writing in that environment. You will note that even directionality, knowing that print starts in a certain place and continues in a predictable pattern, is evident in these samples. Children in the United States, Canada, and other English-speaking countries start at the left-hand side at the top of the page. When the writing crosses the entire row, it is dropped down a line and continued from left to right. Children in Egyptian and Arabic countries start on the other side and script from right to left. Again, all of these children are only 4 years old, so they've been carefully observing for at least 4 years how the print in their environment looks and how they think it works. There are 5 stages of emergent writing. The first one is drawing as writing. And here is a writing sample that Tiffany produced when she was about 2.5 years old. Well, Dr. Enns always smiles when she sees this writing sample because, as she says, I do sort of look like a potato person. Regardless, this sample is very typical of a young child's attempt to communicate an important message to people who are important, a picture of her mom. The second stage is scribble writing. During this stage, children have an intuitive desire to make their writing look like writing, what they see in their homes, their communities, and at their schools. One time when my own daughter Bree was going through my purse and found a set of checks when she was about 3 years old, she scribbled just like this along the lines where she had seen me using a writing instrument and then exchanging a piece of paper with marks on it in return for something very valuable like toys or food or clothes or treats. This is a good example of children trying to make meaning of the way things work in the world by imitating actions. Later on, you'll see more of this letter-like form stage. You will begin to see some very distinct letter-like forms, and in this case, we also see number forms. If you look carefully, you can see a 1 and a 4 and a 6, and also what looks like W's and U's and even some V's. So beginning writing gets more sophisticated as children look more carefully at individual letters and numbers and attempt to communicate through writing. Okay, here we have another refinement. This stage is called letter strings, and as children begin to create what looks like to them words, yet when they tell you what they wrote and you look very carefully, you have a really hard time trying to figure out how any of those letter combinations match up to what they're saying. However, there again, the writing is beginning to be more sophisticated. Look at the range of letters Tiffany is using at this time and her more fine motor control on her E's and her H's and her P's. We can see some upper and lowercase letters here. And again, you're also seeing what looks like a little drawing on the left-hand side. Beginning writers often include pictures in what they're doing. They'll go back and forth between drawing and letter strings and then some scribble. Again, I just want to point out that beginning writing is not entirely hierarchical, but it's a combination of the least mature forms to the more mature forms of writing. Using invented spelling is a huge leap. This writing sample was produced when Tiffany was about 6 years old. She had already learned her letters and her sounds, and now she's beginning to learn the conventions of writing. This is what she's saying. I love cats because they are so pretty. And I like other animals too. I love my family and they love back. I don't think I wrote a free sentence like this until I was about in 3rd grade. However, little Tiffany is very careful with what she is writing, and she's sounding out words, and she's using invented spelling very well. She is writing down the letters she hears when she says the words out loud. Okay, so even though we accept invented spelling, we're always pushing children towards conventional. So in this piece, we do see some inventive spelling, but we're also seeing a lot of that preferred conventional, that traditional spelling of words. In this writing sample, Tiffany shares, "My favorite month is July because my birthday is in July, and I like October because you can get candy." Tiffany moved through all of these stages pretty dramatically. But what is interesting is that her conventional reading did not catch up until she was about at the end of 1st grade. Tiffany was a little bit reluctant to read out loud, but ask her to write anything and she'd be sounding it out and writing huge volumes of work. Okay, here's another fun example. My dog. One day my dog barked. He barked because I was playing with him. He wanted attention. We play a lot. We love each other. The end. Once again, I don't think I wrote the word attention until I was in 5th grade, but Tiffany used her phonemic awareness to sound out this word, and she did it very well.